All right, so we're AP Lit, and we're looking at the end of Walden. Uh, Yet we think that if rail fences are pulled down and stone walls piled up on our farms, bounds are henceforth set to our lives and our fates decided. If you were chosen town clerk, forsooth, you cannot go to Tierra del Fuego this summer, but you may go to the land of infernal fire nevertheless. The universe is wider than our view of it. So the first question asks you, he's always talking in terms of, like a good poet, in terms of symbolism and figurative language. So first of all, he's literally saying that it seems like all animals migrate. They don't stay in one place. They travel. And that people think they can't travel. Like if you're the town clerk, you can't go to Tierra del Fuego. Maybe you can't. But he's also saying the universe is wider than our views of it. So, and what do you think he means by that? The universe is wider. Elizabeth, what do you think he means by the universe is wider than we think it is? I'll paraphrase. What do you mean the universe is bigger than we think it is? It's pretty...
I mean, we can only know so much because there's more than we even know about.
And so what should that do for us? What should that acknowledgement do to us? Like
It shows that we're small and there's bigger things than us.
And very good. So I'll ask one more question. Why is that a good thing?
Because it pushes us to think more because there is more out there than we already know.
All those answers were great. And I think humility is something we're all lacking to some degree. Oh, we look down on ourselves sometimes, but that's not true humility. It's my belief that you can't learn anything unless you're humble. I can't learn anything unless I acknowledge I don't know it. And so we don't, I like what you said, we don't know as much as we think we know. We're not as smart as we think we are. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. All right, we'll skip to the little poem, which is actually a poem. Would you read that, John, the director I? It's in the next paragraph.
I left my book in my home.
All right, how about,
Glad you mind, John.
Kyle, you ready? You left your book in his car, which is out there. I got it.
Dracula and Silent Book. Where is he going?
Director I that will,
Direct your eyes inward.
yeah.
Direct your eye right inward, and you'll find 1,000 regions in your mind, yet undiscovered. Travel them and be an expert in your home cosmography.
Hey, this is a follow-up, John, with the idea that the world is out there is bigger than we think it is. This is looking in the opposite direction. What does he mean by that? The question is, explain it. Just simply explain it. I know you don't have it in front. Well, you do. It's that line right in front of you in the question. What does that mean?
What is cosmograph?
Well, cosmos is like what the universe, and so
Is that like the study of the universe?
yeah, and it's like a mapping of the universe. Okay. So what does it mean, direct your eye inward? What is he saying? He just said direct it outward. The outward world is bigger than we think, but what's also bigger than we think?
Is it like focusing on yourself?
So what about yourself is bigger than we think?
Like your mind?
Yes. So in either direction you choose to go, out that way or in this way, there's a lot more there than you think it is. And remember, the thing with the whole book is we live superficially. That's just one of the things. We're living very superficially, and there's a lot more to life than we're willing to work at to discover. All right. I don't know exactly the page numbers, but you'll have to turn the page, I believe, to the line. It's several paragraphs in the future. I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Did you find that? It's on my page 252, but I don't know where it is. I don't think that's where it is for you. Anybody have that? I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there.
The bottom 2
Thank you. So you're about 10 pages off. I want you to quote him. I'm gonna ask Davis to read. I'm gonna ask you to quote him. I asked you the question earlier, what reason does he go to the woods? Do you remember what he said? Why did he go to the woods and then live there 2 years and then write a book about it? Why did he do that? You remember? Well, it's been a while, but he said basically to get away, and like a jury gets away from the courtroom to deliberate, he wanted to deliberate. He wanted to see what life was all about, you know, kind of a discovery of what his purpose is. And he goes there to do that. Well, David's going to read why he left, because he didn't stay there the rest of his life. He just spent 2 years there. So.
I left the woods for as good a reason as I went there. Perhaps it seemed to me that I had several more lives to live and could not spare any more time for that one. It is remarkable how easily an instance we would fall into a particular route and make a beaten track for ourselves. Before my feet wore a path from my door to the pond side, and though it is 5 or 6 years since I trod it, it is still quite distinct. It is true, I fear, that others may have fallen into it and so helped to keep it open. The surface of the earth is soft and impressible by the feet of men. And so with the paths which the mind travels, how worn and dusty then must the highways of the world, how deep the ruts of tradition and conformity. I did not wish to take a cabin passage, but rather go before the mast and on the deck of the world, for there I could best see the moonlight and the mountains. I did not wish to go below now.
Okay, so why does he leave? Occasionally he's just very direct. A lot of times it seems like he's not. He's talking in terms of symbols and analogies, but here he's very direct. Why did he leave? Tell her why he leave.
He had more lives to live. It's not spare time for that.
Yeah, he just didn't have time to do it anymore. It sounds like something you and I would say. Yeah, okay, it's over. I just got other things I got to do. I can't do this. It's simple, very direct, nothing complicated or philosophical about it. It's extremely practical. And you notice, though, he talks in terms of the first week he was there, he went from his cabin to the pond the same way. So after being there only a week, he had created a rut. You ever heard that expression, living in a rut? Are you in a rut? What does that mean? Max, what does that mean? If you're in a rut, you're in a rut?
Like, being like in a bad spot or like a tough time?
It does have the connotation of being bad, but it doesn't necessarily mean tough. So anybody else know what that means yet?
You're living the same, like, session over and over in your life. You're doing the same things over and over again. For that better or worse, we're all mostly in a rut like that with school as well. We do the same thing over and over every day. And because of the term the rut, it's hard to get out of it as well.
Yeah, a rut is something that, like you say, usually suggests, if you call it that, you're kind of unsatisfied with it, you're bored with it, you're just doing the same thing, and you realize, I need something different. And he realized that he was there a week, and he had literally created a rut for himself by walking from the house to the street, the house to the pond. And so he wanted something else. A word that defines Thoreau is nonconformity. So let's go on. Tyler, do you mind reading the next paragraph, which is, he wouldn't have left it at that. What did he learn? He summarizes what he learns from being there. So would you read the next paragraph?
I'll learn this at least, but my experiment never one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined. He will meet with a success unexpected in coming hours. He will put some things behind, will pass an invisible boundary. New university where liberal laws will begin to establish themselves around and within him. Or the old laws be expanded and interpreted in its favor in a more liberal sense.
So what did he learn, Katie? I noticed two things out of that he learned.
I mean, I guess that just after consideration, everything's gonna constantly change.
Well, that, he does believe that, but look at that first sentence. If you want to reread it, you can. He kind of states it exactly directly. What does he say?
He said, I learned this, at least by my experiment, that if one advances confidently in the direction of his dreams and endeavors to live the life which he has imagined, he will meet this with a success unexpected and common outward.
What do you think he means by that? That's what he learned.
If you drive for something constantly, you will get the success, but it was kind of unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, he's pointing out that most people don't do what he would argue that their heart tells them to do. Whatever it is you want to do, most people don't do that thing. And so they can't be successful if they don't do it. And if they do it, does that mean, I know when I was first a Christian, and a lot of athletes like to say, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. So the premise is, I'm going to be a state champion. And I can do that because God is going to, because I'm just such a great person, God is going to help me do it. I've asked him to do it, and sir, he's going to do it. I can do all that. I can be anything I want to be. And I've come to learn as an adult that thing is, I need to flip it. I can do all things that God wants me to do through his son. That's what that is saying. That, yeah, I can do whatever he calls me to do. Not he can do for me whatever I want him to do for me. So that would be one thing about this that I would switch. But have any of you quit anything? I think we talked about that before. Have any of you quit anything? Like you wanted to do it, but maybe it got a little hard, or maybe it didn't write out as successful, and you just, I'm not doing this anymore. Have you ever done that? Well, he's saying that, and one of my sons has this philosophy he's learned in life. If you just don't quit, you're already in the 90, you're like in the top 90 percentile. If you just don't quit. How many times I've seen people who, they weren't all that, maybe smart, they weren't all that, talented, but they just didn't quit. And when that all said, all the other people quit, and they're the last one there. I think that's part of what he's saying. Just don't quit. If you want to do it, no matter how hard it is. I hate to use a personal example, but I always wanted to be state champion. And we own a team. You can't do much about that individually. So we didn't make it as a team. Our team didn't in football, but in track, I thought I'd always wanted to be. I could just feel it. I thought that would be the pinnacle of life is to be state champion. I didn't have any Olympic dreams or anything like that. It was like a high school state champion. And I did run in the state championship race and finished 8th. And I walked off the track thinking, wow, what a failure, I really felt that way. And then in hindsight, and particularly every time I read this, I'm reminded, I never would have made it to the state championship. It wasn't my best time of the year, but still, I was able to run against the best runners in the state of North Carolina. I actually went to run in college with 2 of them, or at least 2 of them. And one became a really good friend. But I never would have gotten to that level at all, had it not been the fact, what he says here, just go after it. And you may not reach the ultimate goal. And before we leave, we got a couple more minutes. There's a second part that doesn't have a question at the very end. I'm going to read it, and I want you to know this. What does it mean? If you have built castles in the air, your work is not lost. That is where they should be. Now put the foundations under them. What does he mean by that? Castles in the air. What do you think that's a metaphor for?
Dreams,
Yes. So if you have dreams, what's the second part of having the dream?
building a foundation under it to support the dream.
Exactly. And that's the part people don't get, that it takes a lot of work, but the dreams have to come first. So we will finish this up. Please, we have a whole class period tomorrow. I was thinking that the other class would get way ahead of you because now that they've changed that, we're gonna be all at the same spot tomorrow when we get back. Exams start a week from today. I think the ninth graders go first. But anyway.
Jeff, this example.